Eddie Murphy's story is often told through fame, but its foundation is far more human than Hollywood shine suggests. It begins in struggle, shaped by instability, sharpened by loss, and carried forward by an unusual relationship with humor. Before the world knew him as a comedian, actor, or voice of animated icons, he was a child learning how to survive emotional uncertainty. Laughter, for him, was never just entertainment. It became language, defense, and identity. This is the journey of a man who turned hardship into timing and timing into legacy that still echoes across generations. Bushwick Beginnings, a world that asked for strength. Born in 1961 in Brooklyn's Bushwick neighborhood, Eddie Murphy entered a world defined by working-class pressure and limited safety nets. The environment was dense with noise, movement, and constant survival demands. Streets were rough, opportunities were rare, and childhood carried responsibilities far earlier than expected. In such conditions, observation becomes essential. Murphy learned to read people, absorb voices, and notice the smallest emotional shifts. These early instincts would later become the foundation of his comedic brilliance. Even as a child, he was developing an awareness of rhythm, timing, and tension that would eventually define his career. Family struggles and early loss. Murphy's family life was marked by instability. His father worked multiple roles, including transit police and stand-up comedy, while his mother worked as a telephone operator. Despite their efforts, the household faced financial strain and emotional pressure. When his father died at a young age, the impact reshaped Murphy's inner world. Loss arrived before emotional understanding could fully form. His mother's later illness deepened the instability, leaving the family fractured. These experiences were not abstract lessons, they were lived realities. In the absence of security, Murphy began developing emotional resilience through humor, even before understanding its purpose. Foster care and the birth of survival humor. When his mother became unable to care for him temporarily, Murphy and his brother entered foster care. This period introduced unfamiliar environments, new rules, and emotional disconnection. In response, he turned inward, observing everything and everyone. Television became both escape and training ground. He studied voices, gestures, and personalities, practicing impressions as a form of control over chaos. Humor was no longer spontaneous, it became structured survival. By repeating and reshaping what he observed, he built a private system of expression. What looked like play was actually preparation for a future that demanded emotional adaptability and performance precision. Stability in Roosevelt. Finding direction. When his family regained stability and relocated to Roosevelt, Long Island, Murphy experienced a quieter environment. Though still modest, life became more structured. School provided a stage where his personality began to emerge more clearly. Teachers and classmates noticed his ability to shift tone, control timing, and generate laughter effortlessly. Unlike earlier years, humor now began to separate from survival and lean toward identity. He was no longer only reacting to hardship, he was shaping attention. This period allowed him to refine his instincts, slowly turning informal impressions into intentional performance skills that would soon outgrow the school environment. The first stage, discovery of performance power. At around 15, Murphy performed in a local talent show impersonating Al Green. It was not a polished act, but it revealed something significant: the ability to hold attention. The response from the audience was immediate and powerful. For the first time, laughter felt less like defense and more like connection. This moment shifted his understanding of what performance could be. It was no longer just imitation or coping, it was influence. He realized that voice, rhythm, and confidence could transform uncertainty into presence. That realization marked the beginning of his intentional journey into comedy. Teenage hustle, chasing opportunity in Manhattan. By his mid-teens, Murphy was determined to pursue comedy beyond local spaces. Without financial support or connections, he traveled into Manhattan's comedy circuit, performing in small clubs whenever possible. These environments were demanding, filled with experienced performers and tough audiences. Yet, he persisted, learning through repetition and exposure. Each performance sharpened his timing and stage awareness. Travel was often uncomfortable and resources were limited, but the commitment was clear. Comedy was no longer an experiment, it was a direction. Every late-night return home reinforced the idea that persistence was becoming his most valuable tool. Comedy as survival turned craft, Murphy's humor was rooted in emotional truth rather than simple entertainment. What began as a coping mechanism evolved into a structured craft. His ability to shift voices, embody characters, and control pacing gave him a distinctive edge. He understood that comedy was not only about jokes, but about energy transfer between performer and audience. The tension he once experienced in childhood became fuel for storytelling. Rather than escaping pain, he translated it. This transformation allowed him to connect with audiences across backgrounds because the emotions underneath his humor were universally recognizable and deeply human. Rise to fame and cultural impact. Murphy's breakthrough came when he joined Saturday Night Live, where his talent rapidly transformed him into a standout performer. From there, film success followed with titles like Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America, establishing him as a global icon. His influence extended beyond comedy into cultural representation, reshaping expectations of Black performers in mainstream Hollywood. His voice work in animated films further expanded his reach, making him a cross-generational presence. Fame brought visibility, but also pressure. Still, he remained adaptable, consistently reinventing his style while maintaining the core instinct that defined his early years. Fame, family, and the search for balance with success came complexity. Murphy built a large career in family life, navigating public attention while seeking personal stability. Wealth and recognition offered comfort but did not erase earlier emotional imprints. Instead, they added responsibility. Over time, his focus shifted toward balance, raising children, choosing projects more selectively, and stepping back when needed. The intensity of early fame gradually softened into a more measured approach to life. What remained constant was his ability to use humor as grounding, not escape. He continued to embody the idea that laughter can carry both weight and healing simultaneously. Conclusion: a legacy built on endurance. Eddie Murphy's journey is not defined only by success, but by transformation under pressure. From a childhood shaped by loss and instability to global recognition, his path reflects endurance more than ease. Comedy became his language of survival, later evolving into a lifelong craft that reshaped entertainment itself. His legacy is not just in films or performances, but in the emotional truth behind them. He demonstrated that laughter can emerge from hardship without denying it. In that balance between pain and expression, his story continues to resonate, reminding audiences that resilience often speaks first through humor.